Welcome to Discount Storytime, Season 3, Episode 7. This week's story is The Fall of Stumbly. Enjoy! This story takes place at the circus. That's right, the circus. And although most people rightfully think of the circus as a place of joy and popcorn, traveling town to town, spreading laughter, it also has its share of what this circus called unpromising days. These were days when things just didn't go as planned for a performer. For example, there was Loxy, the sword swallower, who came down with a sudden onset of lockjaw. There was Art the Clown, which we won't even go into. There was Sushi, who loved eating sushi so much that one day her sweat smelled like salmon. Rest in peace, poor lion tamer. And perhaps the most tragic, unpromising day was Tripsy. Tripsy's family had been with the circus for a very long time, and Tripsy, since she was a little girl, never quite fit in. Most of the circus acts, like knife throwing or riding a motorcycle in a ball cage, took at minimum a lot of balance and coordination. Tripsy couldn't walk and chew gum without falling over, or walk without falling over, or chew gum without falling over. That was just Tripsy. Then one day, one unpromising day, Tripsy saw a new act. The jugglers had started juggling chainsaws, and Tripsy was mesmerized. She just knew she could do it. They made it look so simple, so it had to be simple, right? Besides, the chainsaws didn't look all that big. She had seen much bigger chainsaws back home in Newt, Texas. The performers had started practicing with just one chainsaw and two balls, then added the number of chainsaws as their skill and confidence improved. But that just seemed to be a big waste of time, thought Tripsy. Why not just start with all three chainsaws? And Tripsy, if not coordinated, was persistent. And she just knew, in her heart of hearts, she could juggle chainsaws too. Well, on this unpromising day, the jugglers left their chainsaws out while on their lunch break. Tripsy knew it was her time to shine. So with total confidence, she tripped her way over to the chainsaw. Well, this was her chance to show the world. May Tripsy rest in peace. The tragic loss of Tripsy shook the circus especially hard, since she left behind her little daughter, just a toddler at the time, little Stumbly. Now, Stumbly wasn't her real name, of course. It was a nickname she had been given. Her proper name was Stumbelina von Stumblepants. It was the circus's job to watch over little Stumbly and make sure no harm came to her. The circus performers and workers weren't just a company, they were a family. And they took little Stumbly in and wrapped her in loving arms and lots of bubble wrap. And nobody was more diligent about Stumbly's safety than her godmother, Gracie, the tightrope walker. Because as she grew, little Stumbly was more like her mother Tripsy every day. At first, as a toddler, one could expect her to fall and tumble, but while other children grew and became better coordinated, little Stumbly kept stumbling along. Even turning pages in her school books made her fall over. But Stumbly grew and grew and grew and became a wonderful young lady with the love and care of her circus family. The circus crew tried to find a place for young Stumbly. However, her godmother was so very protective. She wouldn't let poor Stumbly do anything. So Stumbly sat, day after day, month after month, and watched Gracie practice her high wire act. Sure, this kept Stumbly safe from injury, but she was bored to tears. She knew the high wire act better than anyone else, well, besides Aunt Gracie, of course. Then one day, something happened that would change Stumbly's life forever. She was sitting on a bench watching Aunt Gracie practice her high wire act when the circus ringleader came over. "Well, good morning, Stumbly."
Oh, hi there, ringleader Robbie.
"What are you up to today?"
The usual. Sitting here, watching Aunt Gracie practice. I'm not really allowed to do anything else. Aunt Gracie just wants me to be safe.
"Oh, yes, I heard that in the exposition. But what is it that you want?"
I get so gosh darn bored, ringleader Robbie. You are all my family, and I want to be useful and help. But I'm stuck here, just watching everyone else.
"What if we gave you some jobs to do, around the circus? Some things to do that wouldn't be too risky."
Really, like what?
"Well, you could milk the elephants, or collect eggs from the juggler's coop.
Gosh, that would be swell.
And, well, I have one job that needs to be done right away."
What's that?
Ringleader Robbie pulled a small box out from his coat. "I picked up this here box of paper clips for the business office, and I keep forgetting to drop it off. Do you think you could do that for me?"
Boy, could I. That would just be golly swell.
"No!" shouted Aunt Gracie as she climbed down angrily. "It's too dangerous. I won't allow it."
But Aunt Gracie...
"Gracie, she's just dropping off a box of paper clips. Clearly..."
"Absolutely not. I will not let her get hurt like...
Gracie's face fell.
Aunt Gracie, I can do it. I just know I can. And I can't spend the rest of my life sitting around." "Why not? That is the safest."
Gracie stepped over a tightrope about 2 feet off the ground that she used to practice new routines. Ringleader Robbie said, "Because it's not living, Gracie." Gracie looked into Stumbly's pleading eyes, thought for a minute, then sighed. Okay, just this once. Go straight to the business office and right back and wear your mattress suit." Stumbly's face lit up in a big smile. This was her first job. Excited, she stood up, fell over, then stood up again, then fell over again, then tried a third time.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
As she walked to get her protective mattress suit, she stumbled and fell into Gracie, who was standing in front of the practice wire near the ground. Gracie was caught off guard and fell backwards. Stumbly fell on top of her, and Gracie's leg twisted severely and made a horrible sound. Gracie's ankle was broken, and she wouldn't be able to perform until it healed. Stumbly felt terrible. She never, ever meant to hurt anyone, and especially Aunt Gracie, who was like a mother to her. Gracie tried to soothe Stumbly's feelings, always telling her she knew it was an accident, but Stumbly took it hard. She tried to make amends by doting on Aunt Gracie, bringing her hot tea, hot soup, and cozy blankets. And the worst of the worst was how Stumbly had let her circus family down. The tightrope act was the big finale, and the show just wouldn't be the same. Stumbly felt like she let the audience down. something this podcast does frequently, but circuses actually care. Like Aunt Gracie, everyone else tried to comfort Stumbly, but it was no use. She ran off crying, tottered off and fell over crying. That night would be the first performance without a high wire act. At least, without a scheduled high wire act. Stumbly had been watching Aunt Gracie practice and perform her whole life and knew the routine by heart. Gracie's routine was always the showstopper. She jumped rope on the high wire, then juggled bowling pins, all while wearing high heels. For the big finale, Gracie did a series of backflips on the tightrope while dodging attacks from tigers with jetpacks and flamethrowers. Gracie made it look simple, so it had to be simple, right? Stumbly thought to herself,
Easy peasy.
So during that evening's performance, Stumbly put on Aunt Gracie's costume, heels and all. She fell over, took the heels off, and fell over again. The high wire act always followed the clowns, and as the clowns finished up their confetti bucket routine, Stumbly stumbled to the high wire pole and started climbing. She made it up to the high wire 30 feet above the ground. Stumbly had always been down at the audience level, and up on the high wire, she was kind of thrown off by how far away the audience sounded below her. But Stumbly was determined to do this. The audience laughed and cheered as the clown's confetti shot over them. Ringleader Robbie walked into the spotlight. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming to our show. I am saddened to say we have unfortunate news. Our high wire artist broke her ankle during a paperclip mishap, and we do not have a high wire event for you this evening. But do not despair. Our tigers with jetpacks and flamethrowers have choreographed an amazing flying dance to the music of... The audience screamed and pointed up at Stumbly standing next to the high wire. The spotlight hit her eyes, blinding her for a moment. Ringleader Robbie looked up in terror. Stumbly, no! What are you doing? Stumbly didn't reply. She focused and got herself ready. Then, before she had even taken a step on the high wire, she heard applause. She dared a quick glance down. Boy, she was really high up, all right, and no safety nets. The applause wasn't coming from the audience, at least not at first. The applause came from her circus family. They were looking up at her and sending her all the loving confidence they had. Far down below, she heard a drum roll. This was her moment to shine. Without daring to wait too long, or her confidence might disappear, Stumbly, in high heels no less, stepped onto the high wire. That next morning, a crowd of circus performers stood around Ringleader Robbie, who spoke. Dear friends, we, as a circus family, say goodbye to Stumbelina von Stumblepants, or Stumbly, as she was called. And we give a hearty circus family welcome to our new showstopper, Princess Plummet. Yay! And thus, our hero Stumbly was renamed. Oh, yeah, I should probably explain. So Stumbly had stepped out onto the high wire, in high heels no less, and kept her balance for all of maybe a second. Then she fell. But she didn't just fall. No. Stumbly plummeted to the ground better than anyone has ever plummeted before. She hit the ground gracefully on a one-knee hero pose. She looked up and she smiled. She had stuck the landing like a pro. You see, Stumbly spent her entire life falling over and over, falling over and off of everything, and she got really good at it. Stumbly was a disaster at walking, but a master at plummeting. Thus, she became Princess Plummet, a showstopper like never seen before. Her Aunt Gracie was understandably terrified and furious, but with much persuading, she agreed to watch a small demonstration. Gracie cried tears of joy when she saw what Stumbly, or Princess Plummet, could do. Also, Gracie's ankle never healed properly, and her tightrope days were over. But she didn't care about that. Aunt Gracie gladly became Princess Plummet's trainer and stunt choreographer. Two months later. The clowns had just tossed their bucket of confetti into the crowd to laughter and applause. Ringleader Robbie proudly walked out. "Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, what you will see next you have never seen before. I promise you, this is the most death-defying stunt ever attempted here, there, or in any circus in the world. Please direct your attention to the center ring." At that, a spotlight shone on Princess Plummet, dressed in her Aunt Gracie's sparkly pink gown, now with a sparkly pink cape. She smiled and waved at the audience as two tigers with jetpacks flew her up to a small ledge 30 feet above the ground. By then, Ringleader Robbie was standing directly below Princess Plummet, showing a glass of water. "Princess Plummet will, to your shock and amazement, dive right into this here glass of water." At first, the audience laughed at such a ridiculous prospect. But when they saw the serious look on Ringleader Robbie's eyes, they murmured. Ringleader Robbie carefully set the glass of water down and walked away. The drum roll started. But just then, a circus clown limped out, dabbing her forehead with a brightly colored handkerchief and fanning herself with an overly large fan. The crowd chuckled at her silly antics. When she saw the glass of water, she limped over, picked up the glass, and drank it down. Then she walked off with the glass just as Princess Plummet jumped off the ledge and careened towards the ground. The audience screamed. People turned away. But a moment later, Princess Plummet knelt on the ground, looked up, smiled, and waved a triumphant arm in the air. She didn't even have a scratch. Princess Plummet motioned for the water-stealing clown. The clown limped over and gave her little girl the biggest and proudest hug ever. The end. It's time for a discount story time, discount idea. I used to be a vegetarian, but after getting bit by a werewolf, I now have to say mostly vegetarian. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the fall of Stumbly. Next week's story is Virus Park. Can everyone at Virus Park get along? Subscribe so you can find out. And until next time, be sure to play nice with others, be really kind to yourself, I cannot express that enough, and remember to laugh. Bye. Hello, awesome listeners. I've moved the show off Patreon and will not be putting content behind paywalls. I think everyone deserves access to this half-assed content. Having said that, if you're enjoying Discount Storytime, please help keep the show running if you can. There's a support link in the show notes where you can contribute a few dollars each month and you can cancel anytime. Another way to support Discount Storytime is through word of mouth. By telling others about the show, you are both helping the show and spreading smiles. Now that's a win-win-win if you ask me. And regardless, thank you so much for being a listener. Bye.